Right, welcome back to Headspace Campbelltown. I'm Charisma, and this morning I have with me Josh, who is another of our youth access clinicians. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks, Charisma.
So tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here at Headspace Campbelltown.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm a youth access clinician here at Headspace Campbelltown. So my role is to essentially, welcome young people to the centre, do their initial assessment, get to know them, and then basically manage their care from there. So whether it's, I'm helping them see one of our clinicians in Headspace, so one of the psychologists or another one, or helping refer them to a service elsewhere that's more appropriate, or even working with them myself as well. So I kind of, see a lot of young people and work with a lot of young people here.
Awesome. So obviously you would have heard from a lot of young people about what they're experiencing at the moment. Tell us a little bit about what young people are telling you.
Yeah, I mean, it is a bit of a crazy time with everything going on at the moment, and it is a really stressful time as well, because all of those routines that people are used to and people are used to living with, so with school, work, study, all of that is kind of thrown out the window a little bit. So all those things that people did that made them happy, like seeing friends, going and playing sport, whatever it is that people do, they've had taken away from them essentially, and they can't do anymore. So it is a difficult time in terms of feeling low, in terms of not being able to do those things that we normally do, that daily routine. And it's also a very worrying time, and there's a lot of uncertainty about just the world and work and future and everything too. So it is a really difficult time for young people at the moment.
Now you mentioned that a lot of people's routines are disrupted. What would you say is probably the biggest aspect of people's routine that has been disrupted?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest one in terms of people's day-to-day life, well, one of the biggest is definitely sleep, because with essentially for lots of young people, there's nothing to get up for in the morning now, because for so long people have been doing school online, or they're not working at the moment, or unis, they're doing it online as well. All those things that kind of make us get up in the morning, now we don't have. So what that means is people sleep in a bit later, they start to push that a bit, then they're not tired at night, they watch one more episode, watch one more movie, whatever it is, and then suddenly that sleep routine, which is kept pretty standard by having to get up every morning to go to work or go to school, all of a sudden that's just shifted completely out of whack at the moment.
I imagine that with a lot of people's lives shifting online, and via a screen, that has a big role to play as well.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the big things I think is working from home is we don't have that separation between our relaxing space and our working space anymore for lots of people. So that where normally you can leave your stresses at work or leave your stresses at school or whatever it may be, suddenly they're brought home with us. So our relaxing bedroom, lounge room, whatever it may be, suddenly just isn't that relaxing place anymore. So we're taking all this stress home with us, we're taking all these difficult things home with us. And you're right, there isn't that separation between the online work, social world and our own physical kind of world as well, I guess.
Right. And what what's the biggest impact of the COVID-19 situation on people's sleep? Like why is it such a big impact?
Yeah, like I said before, one of the big things is the routine, of course, because when you don't have to get up at 7:30 for work every day, suddenly you're working online, that shifts everything. So, or you don't have to get up for appointments because you can't go into the specialist, or you can't go to school or uni. We have no reason to get out of bed, and so let's be honest, if you don't have to get out of bed in the morning, you're going to stay in bed. And then yeah, definitely. And then so what that does is, because we're sleeping in a couple of hours later or whatever it may be, then you stay up a couple of hours later, and that routine just throws everything off balance. And the other thing as well is, because it is an uncertain time and it is a stressful time, is when we are stressed and we are worried, that's another thing that affects our sleep too, because your brain can't relax at night, you're too busy going over all the things that are worrying you and stressing about everything. So that's something that keeps us up as well, is that stress and that uncertainty, I guess.
Yeah, well, we've been talking a lot about sort of the link between sleep and stress. In general, why is sleep important?
Sleep is just one of the most important things we can do for our mental health and for our day-to-day life, because when we don't get enough sleep, our brains don't have enough energy to function, really. And that is obviously so important in just all the challenges of life. So whether it's work, school, study, social interactions, interpersonal relationships, everything, we need our brain to be at its best, and we need our brain to have the energy to deal with everything that comes up. And the problem is when we don't get enough sleep, our brain just doesn't have the energy to deal with that stuff. Our brain just doesn't have the capacity to cope with the challenges of day-to-day life. And I'm sure you can imagine when you haven't got enough sleep and you're a bit grumpy or a bit tired, everything just seems so much worse, everything just seems so much more difficult. It's because we just can't deal with all the challenges of life when we're tired.
Yeah. So daily life becomes that much harder when you haven't had enough sleep.
Yeah,
like before.
exactly. Yeah, definitely.
No, absolutely. So let's say, for people out there that are sort of struggling with their sleep routine, what are some ways that they can, rebuild their sleep routine?
Yeah, and I guess the first thing I'm going to say comes back to that word routine is, and the reason I keep repeating it is because it's so important, is to have that time in the morning that you wake up every day. And even if you don't have to get out of bed for school or for work or whatever it is to still have that time that you're waking up and getting out of bed and doing things. Because as I've said time and time again, when we don't have a reason to get out of bed, we won't get out of bed, and that will affect our whole sleep. So keeping that morning routine and keeping getting up at that same time every single day is just really, really important.
So that extra hour of sleeping every morning may not actually be that helpful after all?
No, it's nice. I mean, it's great, don't get me wrong, and I don't blame you for doing it, but it is, throwing our sleep out, throwing our balance out, because then that affects at night as well. And I mean, speaking of nighttime routine is something that is really important too, because what we do is when we have a set routine at night before bed, we do the same thing. So it might be put our phone away, go have a shower, brush our teeth, put our clothes out for the next day, whatever it is. Having that routine and doing that every night, the same thing, trains our brain to know that sleep is coming essentially, and it prepares our body and our brain for sleep, because our brains associate different actions with different activities, for example. So when we do that same routine at night and we have those same same routine, that teaches our brain that sleep is coming, prepare to sleep, be ready for it essentially.
Right. So getting yourself in the mood, in the headspace of going to sleep is a huge factor in that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's say someone is still really struggling to find out what their sleep routine looks like, what it is that helps get them into that sort of sleep headspace. What can they do?
So I guess one of the things they can do is, if they're struggling to find that routine, is one of the tips I would say is, only go to sleep, only try and go to sleep when your body's ready for it, when your brain's ready for it. So if you're finding that routine isn't helping, you're going to bed and you're not tired and your brain's still, still buzzing even when you're trying to go to sleep, I would say adjust your routine so that you don't go to sleep and you don't go to bed until your brain is actually ready for it. So if you do have those stresses and those worries keeping you up, get up, watch a movie, do something else, watch a show, read a book, whatever it is that you need to do to keep your brain busy until you are tired. Because at the end of the day, even if we're trying to set this routine or whatever, if our brain's not ready for sleep, we're not going to be able to go to sleep. So if you're struggling to make that routine, change it up, find something else to do, whether it's, put your phone away an hour before bed is such an important thing, it's such a great thing to do, or read a book, whatever it might be, is get your body and your brain into a relaxed state before bed, so that you're ready for it essentially.
Yeah. Well, what's your top tip? What do you do to prepare yourself for bed?
Yeah. So I mean, for me, before bed, I have a shower, I get changed, I try and relax and all that. But essentially, if I can't sleep or I can't switch my brain off, what I'll do is I'll read a book. I'll go and lie on the lounge, read a book until that kind of puts me to sleep, because as much as I like reading, it is something that tires me out a bit. So that for me it keeps my brain busy, it gets my brain off the things that I might have been thinking about or worrying about, and then once I'm tired enough, then I go to bed basically.
Right. Well, it's interesting before that you said, try and look for ways that you can calm your buzzing mind, because something that I found really helpful for myself is having a journal next to my bed. So if I can't sleep because I've got 10,000 things going through my head, I write a few of those down. If I'm worried about what I'm going to be doing the next day or those sorts of things, writing it down actually helps take it out of my head and prepare me for sleep. So yeah, that's a really good point that you made. So as you've mentioned, Josh, a lot of the work that you do is helping young people when they come through the door. If you are still struggling to find some strategies that might be helpful for you, you can always give us a call here at Headspace Campbelltown 4627-9089, or flick us an email and you can make an appointment with someone like Josh to help you figure out what works for you and what might be helpful in terms of helping you manage this difficult time. Because although our routines have really changed, they're about to change again, with a lot of people going back to school, with universities setting up for maybe the next semester, and workplaces looking at going back as well. We know that things are still likely to change.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us today.
No worries. Thanks for having me.
And thanks for your advice.
No worries.
Cool. All right. Well, see you next time.